So I'm going to tell you the story of Wildflower because today is our 15th anniversary of being in business. And my old buddy, Jim Garrison from the Glendale Gaslight Cafe told me to call him. It was when I was young. He said, call me when you've had a restaurant for 15 years. So Jim, I've had a restaurant for 15 years, starting today. So I was sitting out with my buddy Alves a few weeks ago, and I told him this story, and I apparently he hadn't heard it, but he said, "Man, that's a cool story, and you should record that and tell everybody that." So I'm gonna try and say it as briefly as I can because it's kind of a long story. But basically, when I was 15, I had been dating this gal named Jenna, been dating her for a bit, and I wrote a paper in Mrs. Mills' 9th grade class, and I said that I wanted to own my own organic restaurant, I wanted to marry Jenna Hensley, and I wanted to drive a Volkswagen Beetle. So I went and bought a Beetle, and I continued to date Jenna, who is now my wife. Our anniversary of marriage is next week. So when I was 24, I found this building here, which was a house. It was built in 1906, and it happened to be zoned where you could live upstairs and have a restaurant downstairs. So the reason why I wanted that was because I didn't want to pay two separate mortgages, one to my restaurant and one to my home, because I didn't think I would be able to afford to do that. And I liked the idea of living in the building where I'm working anyway. So we bought this place as a house, and we moved in and lived here, and then I remodeled downstairs into a restaurant with my family and friends, no contractors, and just us. And you know, I borrowed a micro loan from a bank to buy the building, and I had a small chunk left over to remodel and to open a business with. So thankfully we had some good friends that helped us out with all that, and so we ended up opening August 1st of 2008, and it was just my wife and I were the two employees here. I was the chef and she was the server. She's the pretty one, and I'm the cooker. So it wasn't maybe the best idea, because she's also an art teacher. So she ended up going back to work shortly after we opened, and I lost my only employee. So then it was just me, and back then, you know, we were breakfast, brunch, and lunch. I think we were like 6 to 3, 7 to 3, and we were kind of doing this bougie brunch thing that no one really cared about back then, which is probably a hot item today, but it wasn't back then. And lunch ended up taking off. Breakfast really didn't do much, which is like why this says cafe and coffee house. That's why, because back then that's what we were. The coffee just didn't go anywhere in the breakfast side. So lunch, we ended up getting packed, and you know, I vividly remember coming out one day, and I looked out the front porch, and I only had 4 tables inside, and it was just me, and there was like a line of people, 20, 30 people waiting, and it surprised me because we didn't have a sign on the building. I didn't have a website. I didn't even have a phone number. You had to look up my name, and it was under that, because so anyway, I was surprised by that, which is, you know, a good thing, but I also can't. So I came out and I told everybody, I said, hey, it's going to be quite a while. And I was trying to discourage them, and then I knew I was screwed when everyone said, that's okay, we'll wait. So I was worried that I didn't even have enough food to feed all those people. And for some reason, you know, from that day forward, we really stayed busy at lunch. And then it got to where I had to take reservations for lunch. And then I needed to hire some people. So I hired, you know, like one person to help me serve. and that went on for a little while. We didn't have a beer and wine license either. And then I had some customers that were coming in, and Jan, Ken, a lot of you guys that I still stay in touch with that still come in and see me, and I love you. So, some people were coming in there saying, "Hey man, it would be great if we could come back for dinner and bring our wives or bring our husbands or our friends, And so I said, "There's no chance in hell that that's going to happen, because I opened this restaurant so that I can be a good father and a good husband, and getting home at 2 or 3 in the morning and committing to that lifestyle is not an option for me." And because that's the whole point of what I'm doing here. And I wanted to be able to coach my kids' sports teams and whatnot, and I wanted to be done with work at 3 or 4 o'clock so I could do that. And but sadly you don't make a lot of money doing that. So we ended up giving in, and we had to open on Friday nights because we didn't have the money. And I think my first Friday night we did the same sales and dinner that night than I had done the entire week on my best week. So from there, we had 4, maybe 5 tables at the time. What happened was people were coming in and they would request a certain table, and they would sit there, and they would come in 2 or 3 times, in a row, and then before they would leave, they would say, "Hey, I want this table next week as well." And then it kind of got to where everyone that was coming in on Friday night said the same thing, that hold this table for me every week, and we'll just let you know if we can't make it sometime. So we ended up really we were taking reservations, but you kind of couldn't get a reservation unless there was someone that couldn't make it that night. And so then we decided, well, we should probably add Saturday, and then so we did, and then the same thing kind of happened on Saturday. And and back then this was we had a chalkboard on the wall, and I was going to the farmer's market every day buying different things and growing. We actually had tomato plants growing in our front yard here at the cafe, and I had a greenhouse and those kind of things. Speak of the devil, here's Alan.
What we got?
Well, we're just recording a video for social medias telling the Wildflower Story, which Alan's a big piece of, because we've been working together for 19 years.
My dude.
And today is 15 years. So so anyway, it was somewhat, looking back, it's fair to say I'm an idiot, because I opened a restaurant that didn't have a sign, didn't have a phone number, didn't have a menu. That I had, a chalkboard menu, and I was writing the menu every day, and you didn't even know what we were serving, so you had to just come down, to this goofy little house, and we had IKEA chairs that were $2, and the tables were $5, and it was just, but apparently no one really cared, because they still came anyway. And so it got to where people were coming in, and of course, not knowing what was on the menu, most people didn't care. They just came in and said, "Make me whatever." And so that was kind of my dream come true when that happened, because as a chef, that's the ultimate goal, is that you want to have a restaurant that is so good that it doesn't even need a menu, and that your clientele is so awesome that they don't even care that you don't have a menu, and that they're confident in your abilities and your staffs. And so people would come in, and I would just come out to the table and say, "How much do you want to spend?" And then they would tell me, and I would say, "Cool, I'll be back in 15-20 minutes, I'll bring you some food out." And that's kind of how we got started. So that went on for quite a while, and then a few years in, I snagged Alan. We had worked together previously, and I worked for his ex-father-in-law, was one of my best friends, and this guy right here, that was his father-in-law. So that's how I met him a long time ago. And like I said, we've been together for 19 years. So anyway, we ended up hiring some more people. We added Saturday night, and then we added Thursday night, and then we added Wednesday night, and we did one at a time, because we didn't have any backup cash reserve. We didn't have any investors. There was no money to back this program up, that we had to come in and be profitable every day and be conservative with, you know, our cash flow. So you know, we were really sensitive to that back when we started, and I, you know, still so today. But you know, so then we always did lunch. So then we did lunch and dinner, you know, and then we won best burger in Cincinnati. We were in top 40 chefs under 40 in the country, and we were in Midwest Living magazine. And then we won top 100 wine restaurants from Wine Enthusiast and Slow Food Snail of Approval. And we won some, City Beat was giving us awards, and you know, it was like this tornado of just, you know, working and hustling and hiring people, and you know, we doubled our sales year after year for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years, something like that. And we were just trying to hire as many people, and we ended up, you know, with some super uber duper amazing employees that I will always love. And you know, I shouldn't say any names, but you can make an assumption outside of Alan. And then you know, we got to 20 people working here, and we had 10 people working at one time. You know, we were doing, you know, big numbers out of this tiny little restaurant, which, you know, was a real blessing for us to have, you know, such amazing people working with us and as our customers and so on. And then COVID, you know, punched us in the mouth, and we lost some of our favorite employees. And you know, there was a minute where I thought, this ship is sinking, and I don't think I can make it work. And it pretty much got down to me and Alan and Courtney. And I told Alan that I don't think it's going to work, and that I'm going down with the ship. And he said, I am too. So luckily, the ship did not sink. And here we are, celebrating 15 years. And we've got some awesome staff again, and the restaurant's full again, and we're jamming. And we've got a bunch of happy people, and we made it 15 years. So, you know, we may as well keep going, see if we can maybe make it 50 years. You guys have been so good to all of us. I'm blessed.